Hello everyone. Welcome to my channel. Uh, Today you're back again with accounting for real. So I just want to show you how I, just clean up my cabinet right here. This side over here I usually use for my seasoning. So I want to take everything down, wipe them down, and then put everything back up in a neater fashion. So what I have over here, this is my seasoning side. So I do have cinnamon, and this is cinnamon too, ground cinnamon. So what I do, I want to take everything down, and this is pumpkin pumpkin spice, pumpkin spice, and and while I'm working, I usually like to drink my la, pour that on in there. And it has 16 grams of sugar, but it's not real sweet. So what I do, then I usually take all my stuff down. This is I have stuff for hamburger seasoning, and this is baking powder. I have baking powder, and seasoning. This was seasoning I usually use for my chicken and stuff. And different stuff I have up here. This is so it's onion. Onion. It's a crispy fried onion. So in other words, you cooking something, you can, you want to put your little fried onions in there. And then I have different seasoning, some more cinnamon. This is paprika. And I also have some coffee up here. Lemon. And some tea. I always like to keep a lot of tea. This is a ginger tea with honey. I had that. This is some more ginger tea. Ginger tea. And then I also have some cocoa, baking cocoa. Baking cocoa. Cream for your coffee. And this is some Parmesan cheese. Gotta get some more of that, but then I also have some ground nutmeg. More paprika. Sugar, I use this in my seasoning too. That's then also some Morton salt. A bigger thing of coffee. And I have some back here, some more ground cinnamon. And there's some little Tic Tacs I had up there. There's rice. Let's see what else I have up here. There's some more tea. Also have some Bingalo. When you get sick, this type of tea says looking to stay well every day. And this is Bingalo Benefits. And this is for Radiant Beauty. It's nice to know you. Look, isn't it nice to know you? Radiant Beauty every day. I don't drink this tea that much, but I usually like my green tea. So I just finished this off. I think this is my last one. I get another box. And some more coffee creamer. And then I have there's some garlic powder. Garlic powder. All kind of seasonings up here. Some lemon pepper. This is more cinnamon. Cinnamon sugar. Cinnamon sugar. So when I'm doing my yams, you know, you do yams or whatever you cooking that, you know, require a little cinnamon. So this cinnamon sugar, I never knew they made it like this, cinnamon sugar together. So this is my this is my seasoning side. Over here I usually have my canned food on that side. So some more hamburger seasoning. Some more hamburger seasoning. I have a whole lot of that. I also have some fish seasoning. Fish seasoning, ground nutmeg. Also got some seasoning for greens. Green seasoning. And this is some more paprika. Paprika. So see. And then I have this is little sugars. Little sugars. So what I do, I take well, we can take a rag, wipe it out like that. Here, oh, that's a comb. Wipe it all down like that. Wipe it down like that. And so wipe it on down like that. Clean it out. Clean it out like that. So then I take everything and put it back. I have my coffee creamer. And put the coffee up there. I like to mash them up. Put the coffee up there. Coffee up there with the coffee creamer. And then I'm going to switch it over this time. Let's put my tea over on this side. Tea on this side. And tea, try to put everything over there in like a little order. That's tea. And then I got my cocoa. I put my cocoa in the back. And let's put that in the back. Also my baking powder and my cocoa. Put that back there like that. All this stuff is going in front. And this is my salt. This is the onion. that. This is rice. I'll put this in the fridge. Rice left. And sugar. And then what I'm going to do, I take this off of here like this. Hamburger seasoning. Put it all in there together. And I think that's it. So then I have my, also, this is my pumpkin spice. Pumpkin spice. Let's put that on this side. Pumpkin spice. And then I have my ground cinnamon, ground nutmeg. And see how much needed that is? Coming together. And then this is by the chicken seasoning. So I put that in the back like that. Fish seasoning. Lemon pepper. And garlic powder. So this is just some ginger, honey. I think I'll throw that away. And this is a little bit. That's a little bit now. Get a new one. And let's see, chicken seasoning. With chicken seasoning, I put that back in with a chicken seasoning. And then I have a paprika. So all my seasonings right there. And this is cinnamon. I put the cinnamon right there. That's cinnamon. So both of these are cinnamon. This is pure ground cinnamon. And this is cinnamon sugar. And this is pure ground cinnamon. So a whole lot of ground cinnamon, a whole lot of, and this is my greens, seasoning for greens. And this is paprika. Put that right there. And this is one little tea bag. I'll hold on to that. Let's see, I gotta get the number box. That, and this is paprika. I don't think I need just a little bit of that. Now, here go another hamburger seasoning. Hamburger seasoning. That's green tea. And this is ground nutmeg. Ground nutmeg. So I'll put that over here with because we got ground cinnamon, roasted cinnamon. Lemon juice. And lemon juice. And another tea bag left. A little piece of sugar. And so there you have it. And this is how I just cleaned out my little seasoning cabinet. Next time I'll do my other side. Cheers. So now what I want to do is just read a few things. A couple books that I have. And this book right here, sometimes I talk about qualitative research. So qualitative research, I'm gonna read a few little items out of qualitative research. Foundations of qualitative research for education. A man and woman sat in the upper level of a packed athletic stadium watching a big game. Make sure my volume is up on the computer. Okay. A man and woman sat in the upper level of a packed athletic stadium watching a big game, what was to be a winning season for an up-and-coming division. Up-and-coming division, one men's collegiate baseball team. Although it was difficult to distinguish them from the other enthusiastic and boisterous spectators, they were researchers engaged in the study of the home team, the socialization and education of male college athletes. So in other words, they were sitting up in the stand, and they were college students that was just about to do some research. So it says attending games was a minor part of their research work. They also hung out and interviewed players, athletic staff, boosters, athletes, women friends, media personnel, and professors. So that's what qualitative research consists of. Field research, as I mentioned in my other video, field research where you go down in the field. In other words, they were going to interview some professional college athletes. So they went down in the field. Well, what better place to interview your in other words, whatever you're gonna be writing about, whoever you're writing about, what better place to do your research is, down in the field, where you can actually talk to the athletes and you can, get all your information right there. And rather than having, obtaining secondhand information for your research, you want to go right down in the field, doing interviews and, talking surveys, interviews, talking right to the athletes. They also hung out with and interviewed players, athletic staff, boosters, athletes, women friends, media personnel, and professors. They gained access to the locker room, the dormitories, and other places players spent their time. They followed several groups of players through their college years and beyond. The researchers maintained detailed written notes of what they observed and heard and conducted tape-recorded interviews, which they transcribed. The result was a book which explored topics such as the relationship between athletes and academics, social class, ethnicity, and players' friendship and achievement, players' views of their college experience, and the social organization of collegiate athletics. So in other words, they went right down in the field, they went right in the locker room, interviewed the players. They said the researchers maintained detailed written notes of what they observed and heard and conducted tape recorded interviews. So they went down straight to the locker room, interviewed the players. So that's what they call qualitative research. In another part of the United States, a researcher regularly visited a multicultural public elementary school where she spent long periods of time observing and carefully listening to boys and girls go about their day-to-day activities in the classroom, on the playground, in the gym, and in the lunchroom, as well as in less supervised places. She was studying how children experience gender in school. So in other words, in another part of the country, a researcher, she went right in the field, right to the multicultural public elementary school, where she can interview the recipients, and that's a part of her research. So she went straight to the classroom, on the playground, in the gym, and in the lunchroom, so she can, observe, do her interviews. She could gain first-hand knowledge. She was studying how children experience gender in school. The book, which resulted from her work, is rich in detail about the gender play among groups of children. She discusses and describes gender-related activities such as chase and kiss, cooties, go in with, and teasing. A researcher was interested in the academic achievement of African American adolescents, particularly in what she came to call the logic of responses of the students to their school. She spent time studying at a predominantly African American school in Washington, D.C. All right. Ain't that something? And I'm right here in Washington, D.C. It says a researcher, she was interested in the academic achievement of African American adolescents. So she went right down, so she spent time at a predominantly African American school right here in Washington, D.C. 33 students were her key informants. These students helped her to study the mean systems at Capitol High. She explored how some students resisted school-sanctioned learning. She learned about the cost of doing well. She interviewed the students both formally and informally, looked at transcripts and other documents, and spent time hanging out at school and at the students' homes, churches, neighborhoods, and recreational centers, even riding the bus with them in order to find out how they made sense of their education. She found out that the theme of acting white was an important issue to these students. She came to look at success in terms that were more than academic. In a medium-sized city, a researcher regularly visited a city elementary school, interviewing and observing female teachers. She was studying her subjects' perspectives about their work, what they valued and criticized about their occupation, and how these views were manifested in their speech and actions. After she completed her work in the schools, she read diaries and letters by female teachers archived in libraries. In addition, she examined published fictional accounts of teaching and other related material. In the book she published, she explored how teachers think about their occupation and how their thinking is related to images of teachers available in popular culture. These are examples of people conducting qualitative research for education. They exhaust neither the variety of strategies nor the range of topics. Other qualitative researchers look at old photographs from family albums and other sources to see how people with disabilities are presented. Explore zero tolerance policies for controlling violence in schools. Interview pregnant high school students. The educational experiences of people of all ages. Knowledge of all ages in schools as well as out can be the subject matter. Qualitative research for education takes many forms and is conducted in many settings. So let's find out what other settings qualitative research can be conducted. So I know you can do, field research right down in the field. So in other words, if I wanted to do some research, or I had a course assignment and I wanted to do some research of college campuses around Washington, D.C., I can go right to the college campus, do my interviews, surveys, talk to the participants that's a part of my research. And, that would be one way to do qualitative research. So let's read on. Although researchers in anthropology and sociology have used the approach described in this book for a century, the term qualitative research was not used in the social sciences until the late 1960s. We use qualitative research as an umbrella term to refer to several research strategies that share certain characteristics. The data collected have been termed SALT, that is, rich in description of people, places, and conversations, and not easily handled by statistical procedures. Research questions are not framed by operationalizing variables. Rather, they are formulated to investigate topics in all their complexity and context. While people conducting qualitative research may develop a focus as they collect data. They do not approach the research with specific questions to answer or hypotheses to test. They also are concerned with understanding behavior from the subject's own frame of reference. External causes are of secondary importance. They tend to collect their data through sustained contact with people in settings where subjects normally spend their time. Uh, Normally spend their time classrooms, cafeterias, teachers, lounges, dormitories, and street corners. The best known representatives of qualitative research studies and those that most embody the characteristics we just touched on, those that employ the techniques of participant observation and in-depth interviewing. So in other words, qualitative research, as I said, you going down in the field, you doing research, those are the participants in your research study. And then you have in-depth interviewing. So you go down to the field, um, you interview the participants. You observe them, see how they react, and while you taking your notes and you questioning them, asking them questions and observing them, interviewing them, and you're taking notes at the same time. In addition to participant observation and archival research, the study of female teachers used in in-depth interviewing, sometimes termed unstructured or open-ended. So in other words, you are asked open-ended questions. So the research is bent on understanding in considerable detail how people such as teachers, principals, and students think and how they came to develop the perspective they hold. This goal often leads the researcher to spend considerable time with subjects in their own environments, asking open-ended questions such as, what is a typical day like for you? That's an open-ended question. What is a typical day like for you? In other words, open-ended means you have to respond back. It's not like a yes or no answer. So they want you to explain what is a typical day like for you. So open-ended means, responding back. In other words, with your thoughts, not just a yes or no, question. So this goal often leads the researcher to spend considerable time. Okay, then on environments. What do you like best about your work? And recording the responses. The open-ended nature of the approach allows the subject to answer from their own frame of reference rather than from one structured, by prearranged questions. In this type of interviewing, questionnaires are not used. While loosely structured, interview guides may sometimes be employed. Most often, the researcher works in getting the subject to freely express their thoughts around particular topics. And then it says, let me see where I stopped off at. Topics. Let me see. Because of the detailed sort, most studies have small samples. In some studies, in some studies, the researcher draws an in-depth portrait of only one subject. When the intent is to capture one person's interpretation of his or her life, the study is called a life history. We use the phrase qualitative research, but others use different terms and conceptualize the brand of research we present in this book slightly differently. Anthropologists have often used the term field work. That's what I said. I said field research. Anthropologists often use the term field work to refer to the kind of research we are describing. Its use derives from the fact that data tend to be collected in the field as opposed to laboratories or other researcher-controlled situations. In education, qualitative research is frequently called naturalistic because the researcher frequents places where the events he or she is interested in naturally occur. And the data are gathered by people engaging in natural behavior, talking, visiting, looking, eating, and so on. So somebody talking, eating, looking around, you observing them. They, you visiting, they visiting, and so you down in the field, you observing, you doing your interviewing, in-depth interviewing. Okay, so characteristics of qualitative research. Let's start with whether or not you have ever taking any kind of research methods course, you come to qualitative methods class already knowing about research, media and popular culture, particularly the television and radio news, as well as print media, explain the dangers of smoking, drinking while pregnant, driving without seatbelts, and other social problems as discoveries of scientific research. Charts and graphs illustrate the results of the research, and commentators and journalists employ words such as variables, sample size, and results as part of their daily vocabulary. So we come to think about research in terms of this vocabulary, even if we do not always know just what all of the terms mean. Research, then, as it is publicly known, is a synonym for quantitative research. So that's just a few little things. And it said there are 5 features of qualitative research as we define it. All studies that we would call qualitative do not exhibit all the traits to an equal degree. Some, in fact, are almost completely lacking in one or more. The question is not whether a particular piece of research is or is not absolutely qualitative. Rather, it is an issue of degree. As we mentioned earlier, participant observation and in-depth interview studies tend to be exemplary. Qualitative research, they have naturalistic. Qualitative research has actual settings as a direct source of data, and the research is the key instrument. So in other words, you're doing some research. So in other words, what if you have the teacher gave you a project, and you want to interview, say for instance, you want to interview baseball stadiums, in say about a 100-mile radius. So you might go down to the baseball stadium in different states, wherever you see them at. You might find one in Washington D.C., you might find one somewhere else, and then then you do your little research. You go down to the stadium, you interview your participants, and so that's qualitative research. We have descriptive data. Qualitative research is descriptive. The data collected takes the form of words or pictures rather than numbers, right? Because numbers is quantitative. The written results of the research contain quotations from the data to illustrate and substantiate the presentation. In collecting descriptive data, qualitative researchers approach the world in a nitpicking way. Many of us are locked into our taken for granted worlds, oblivious to the details of our environment and to the assumptions under which we operate. We fail to notice such things as gestures, jokes, who does the talking in a conversation, the decorations on the walls, and the special words we use to which those around us respond. The qualitative research approach demands that the world be examined with the assumption that nothing is trivial, that everything has a potential of being a clue that might unlock a more comprehensive understanding of what is being studied. The researcher continually asks such questions as why are these desks arranged the way they are? How do the middle-class white students at this private school understand their privileges? And how do students and teachers understand computers when they are introduced into the high school curriculum? So what topics do students initiate in an early morning discussion group? Why do similar behaviors on the part of different students elicit such different responses from the teacher? How do teachers push particular versions of good mothers on teenage mothers in high school? Then we have the concern process. We have inductive. Qualitative researchers are concerned with process rather than simply with outcomes of products. And inductive. Qualitative researchers tend to analyze their data inductively. They do not search out data or evidence to prove or disprove hypotheses they hold before entering the study. Rather the abstractions are built as the particulars that have been gathered are grouped together. And so we have, so that's, just giving you some little insight on qualitative research. 24 with a daughter of a Samoan chief. She was just beginning her celebrated field study. This is a picture of somebody This is from 1925. She was just beginning her celebrated field studies. So she was just beginning her field studies. And this is Margaret Mead and Samoa, 1925. So she was, guess she's about to do some qualitative research. She has some qualitative research to do. Okay, let's see. What else do we have? A whole lot of stuff in this book. This is a book right here. I ordered right here from right off Amazon. Phenomenological approach. At the scene of a car accident, a conversation occurred that illustrates two approaches people use to understand what happens around them. At an intersection where all the roads face stop signs, two cars collided. The drivers were discussing what had happened when a police officer arrived on the scene. One driver took the position that the other had not made a full stop, while the other driver said that he had indeed stopped and that he had the right of way anyway. A reluctant witness was drawn into the debate who, when asked by one of the drivers for her account of the incident, said that it was hard to tell exactly what had happened from where she was standing. Phrases such as, how could you say that? It happened right before your eyes. Facts are facts. You didn't stop. You were looking the other way. See, two different accounts. They had at the scene of a car accident. Conversation occurred, and you have two different accounts. So it's almost your word against my word. And if you didn't have any witnesses around, the police officer was asked how she reconciled conflicting accounts. Her response was that contradictions occur all the time, and that the parties involved were not necessarily lying, since it all depends on where you are sitting, how things look to you. The approach the police officer took to understand the situation is reflective of qualitative approaches that depend on a phenomenological point of view. They require a set of assumptions that are different from those used when human behavior is approached with the purpose of finding facts and causes. Some might argue, and we would too, that there are facts in such an accident case. If someone said that there were no stop signs, such an assertion could be checked on location. Some viewers' rendering are more accurate than others. See, qualitative researchers would not say that this way to approach the situation is wrong. The legal system works on such logic. They would assert that such an approach is just one way of understanding the situation. Further, they would remind us that such an approach is only a partial telling of the occurrence. If you are interested in the dynamics of the encounter and the behavior at accidents and the ways people make sense of such incidents, and in the arguments they construct in explaining them, the facts approach will not be very illuminating. See, researchers in the phenomenological mode attempt to understand the meaning of events and interactions to ordinary people in particular situations. Phenomenological sociology has been particularly influenced by the philosophers Edmund Husserl and Alfred Schultz. It's also located within the Weberian tradition, which emphasizes Verstehen, the interpretive understanding of human interaction. Phenomenologists do not assume they know what things mean to the people they are studying. This silence or phenomenological inquiry begins with silence. The silence is an attempt to grasp what it is they are studying. What phenomenologists emphasize then is the subjective aspects of people's behavior. They attempt to gain entry into the conceptual world of their subject in order to understand how and what meaning they construct around events in their daily lives. So this just I was just reading a little bit about qualitative research. Then it goes into culture. Then it goes into ethnomethodology. Then it gives you the methods and methodology. It says, well, methods of methodology. One clarification related to theory before we move on. People often use the words methods and methodology synonymously or confuse the two. Methodology is a more generic term that refers to the general logic and theoretical perspective for a research project. Methods is a term that refers to the specific techniques, steps, techniques you use, such as surveys, interviews, observation, the more technical aspects of the research. In good research, methods are consistent with the logic embodied in the methodology. So I'm not gonna read all this in because it's a whole lot of, more stuff in the book. Terms. So these are the terms for this chapter: ethnographic, documentary, fieldwork, soft data, symbolic interaction, interperspective, naturalistic, methodological, descriptive, participant observation, phenomenological, Chicago School, life history, case study, ecological, narrative, interpretive, experimental, hard data, outer perspective, empirical, positivist, social facts, statistical, scientific method. So those are just some of the words. So also we have, I think this is all I'm going to read out this book. Okay, this is all I'm going to read out this book. Let me go to, I have another book. Oh, let me see. This book right here is, so, in my previous videos, I was talking about, building a county information system, and depending on what, how large the capacity of my workspace is. I'm a manager, I'm an owner. In other words, I was talking about that. In other words, you have everything already set up. You have your business name, your business licenses, you have your niche, your target market. You're trying to build your brand, and you have your layout. You want to, which topology you want to use. You want to build an information system, or you want to build more than one. You have several office buildings. You want an information system for each employee. So which topology do you want to use? You want to use your ring, star, bus, or mesh. And then you have the ring bus topology. So what setup, in other words, you'll be talking to your networking professionals. So you can't build an information. It wouldn't be good to build an information system or information systems without having security. So this book says how personal and internet security work. So you're building an information system, or you're building, you're building more than one. You're building it so you can bring in that necessary accounting information into your corporation or your organization. You need that information to make value pertinent decisions. Managers need to make decisions. They need that information. That's managerial accounting. And then you have financial accounting. Those outside people, personnel, they need to make decisions. You have the SEC, Securities and Exchange Commission, your banks, your auditors, your credit unions, even for personal use. As personal users of computers and needing that information, we need, we need it for personal use too. We have our bank accounts, we have our credit unions. We need that information. We need it. People need, they may need an information system in their home. They need information to come into the home so they can make decisions in their home as well. So this book right here is a good book. This is book 2. I ordered off. I also ordered this one off Amazon. I got a lot of books I ordered off Amazon. And this is just a picture of a computer. So how personal internet security work. Let's see what they have for us. And See, this is when somebody working at their desk. So he's working at her desk. That's her client computer. 9 times out of 10, she would probably access the server, or she might need to access the database, server database. So let's start with how TCP/IP works. How TCP/IP works. Okay, so the internet is a packet switch network. So as I said previously, the internet is a network of networks. Everybody sharing information or pulling information from here, from there, different sources. The internet is a packet switch network, which means that when you send information across the internet from your computer to another computer, the data is broken into small packets. So when you send information across the network, across the internet from your computer, another computer to another computer, the data is broken into small packets. A series of devices called routers send each packet across the net individually. So when you're working on your computer, those packets send different information across the network. Excuse me. A series of devices called routers send each packet across the net individually. After all the packets arrive at the receiving computer, they are recombined into their original unified form. Two protocols do the work of breaking the data into packets, routing the packets across the internet and then recombining them on the other end. The internet protocol, which routes the data, and the transmission control protocol, which breaks the data into packets and recombines them on the computer that receive the information. Each packet is put into separate IP envelopes, which contain addressing information that tells the internet where to send the data. All the envelopes for a given piece of data have the same addressing information, so they all can be sent to the same location to be reassembled. IP envelopes contain headers that include information such as the sender's address, the destination address, the amount of time the packet should be kept before discarding it, and many other kinds of information. So this is just showing you how the data is, gathered and sent across the network. So this is showing you, and this is assumed right here, this is probably the hub. These are the wires. Then this is the hub and the wires. So that's how they, get the information. As the packets are sent across the internet, routers along the way examine the IP envelopes and look at their addresses. These routers determine the most efficient path for sending each packet to the next router closest to its final destination. The packets arrive after traveling through a series of routers. Because the traffic load on the internet changes constantly, the packets might be sent along different routes and might arrive out of order. As the packets arrive at their destination, TCP calculates a checksum for each packet. It then compares this checksum with the checksum that has been sent in the packet. If the checksums don't match, TCP knows that the data in the packet has been corrupted during transmission. It then discards the packet and asks that the original packet be retransmitted. Okay, so how the World Wide Web works. See how the World Wide Web works. So, how the World Wide Web works. In the browser, you type the URL for a location you want to visit. So in other words, in the URL, Uniform Resource Locator, that's what they call it up at the top. In the web browser, you type the URL for your locations. In other words, you want to go to YouTube, you type YouTube, and it's going to take you to YouTube. But do you know the route that it has to take before it, pulls up your website? So here it is. Okay, says in the web browser, you type the URL and you want to visit, or the URL you want to visit, or click on a link that will send you to the desired location. The names for web locations are Uniform Resource Locators. Yep. Your web browser sends a URL request using Hypertext Transfer Protocol, which defines the way the web browser and the web server communicate with each other. So the web browser and the web server, in other words, you type in where you want to go, it's the web server and the web browser is communicating with each other, and it's pulling up your website, and that's what it takes you to your website. So the URLs contain several parts. The first part, HTTP, details which internet protocol to use. The second part, the part that usually has a www in it, sometimes tells what kind of internet source is being contacted. The third part, so in other words, HTTP, when you type in HTTP, that's the internet protocol. Then www, that tells what kind of internet resource is being contacted. The third part, such as zdnet.com, can vary in length and identifies the web server to be contacted. So it's identifying the web server. In other words, you are on a client computer and you are accessing you're on a client computer and you are accessing the server computer. So that's where we get all that information from the server. The final part identifies a specific directory on the server and a home page, a document, some other internet object, or the default home page. The request is sent to the internet. Internet routers examine the request to determine to which server to send the request. The information just to the right of the HTTP in the URL tells the internet on which web server the requested information can be found. Routers send a request to that web server. The request is sent as a URL like this: HTTP //www.qbooks.com. But the internet servers can't understand letters. They can only handle numbers. So the internet server can only handle numbers, right? Because with the computers, it's like zeros and ones. So that URL needs to be translated into an IP address that servers can understand. An IP address is in the form of 4 numbers separated by dots, like this. Yeah, your IP address. 216.187.118.221. A DNS server translates a URL into IP addresses. So everyone's computer has an IP address. So you have an IP address. It says the request is sent to the URL like this: HTTP www.qbooks.com. When the server finds the requested home page, document or object, it sends that home page, document or object back to the web browser client. The information is then displayed on the computer screen in the web browser. So how hackers break into your PC and how to protect against them. How hackers break into your PC and how to protect against them. So to connect your computer to the internet is to be in danger. In other words, you connected to the internet, you're in danger. Even now they have cars, internet, Wi-Fi in the car, Wi-Fi in hospitals, everywhere we go is what they are, hotspots, so we can, access the internet. So anywhere you access the internet, you open yourself up to hackers. It says to connect your computer to the internet is to be in danger. There's no way around it. The moment you get on the internet, you are threatened by spyware, viruses, trojans, and more. And among the worst threats are hackers who look for ways to break into people's PCs and to damage. Why is the internet so open to hackers? A big part of the reason has to do with the origins of the internet itself. The internet was not designed to be a massive globe-spanning network connecting hundreds of millions of people doing everything from shopping to conducting financial transactions. Instead, it was built for government and military researchers to be able to easily communicate with each other and share resources. So they made it bigger. Because I think back in the day, it was called the ARPANET. It was meant for government workers. It was called the ARPANET. And that's what it started out as. So in other words, it wasn't meant to be this worldwide network of networks. Because of that, the internet was designed to be open and to allow people to do things such as allow others to take control of their computers. It is this very openness that makes hacking so easy. When you connect to the internet, your computer is wide open. And it needs to be that way because to accomplish anything, such as connecting to a website, it needs to send and receive information freely. This openness can be exploited by hackers who can use it to break into your PC. In addition, the internet was not designed with security in mind, so it's easy for people to spoof their real email addresses or locations. So let me browse on through here. So how hackers invade PCs. Hackers not only attack big websites and corporations, but also individual computers in homes or businesses. Hackers can do damage and use your computer in many ways. As a start to too many of hackers' nefarious deeds, they need access to your computer. One common way they gain it is through the use of a program like back orifice. They do it through something called back orifice. Before the hackers can use the program, you have to get it on your computer. You can unwittingly get a copy of back orifice on your computer in many ways. For example, you can open a file in an email message and it can be installed to your computer without you realizing it. Or you can be sent it when you use Internet's IRC chat protocol. Hackers have automated tools that scan thousands of computers to see which ones have back orifice running on them. These tools send out port probes packets that look at specific virtual ports that all computers have when connected to the internet. Back orifice uses port 31337 among other ports, and if it's running on a computer, it opens that port. A port probe alerts the hacker that port 31337 is open, and he knows he can take control of your PC. The hacker can do many things when he takes control of your computer. In essence, it's as if he's sitting at your keyboard and monitor without you knowing about it. He can, for example, copy or delete all the files, data, and software on your computer. So, orifice. So, if you find that you have this orifice, back orifice on your computer, then you make yourself susceptible to hackers. He can find out personal information about you by looking through your files. For example, he might be able to gain access to your credit card number, bank account, social security number, and then use that information illegally. Yep, they make fake IDs of people, get your information, what they call it, identity theft. So a lot of these big giant retailers, some of their systems have been hacked into. So when people go to purchase things, they're using their credit cards and debit cards, and they think they're safe. But sometimes, you're not. He can gain access to all your passwords, which would enable him to pose as you on websites and break into data on your computer that you try to protect with passwords. He can upload any files to or download any files from your computer. For example, he could use your computer to store copies of illegally copied software and could even enable other hackers to then download those illegal copies and then messing your name up. Often hackers use access to someone else's computer to launch attacks against corporations or web pages. The hacker could launch an attack, and when the attack was traced, it wouldn't lead to the hacker's computer. It would lead to yours, and it would appear that you were the culprit. So hackers can get into your computer and steal your information, make like they you, and that's what they're saying. So it wouldn't the bad stuff that they be doing, it might not lead back to your computer. It will probably lead back to your computer and to the computer that any of us are using, and it wouldn't lead to the hacker's computer. It lead back to That's why they try to tell people to get this identity theft, get that software, pay for that monthly fee, so in case something like this happens, they can help you. How script kiddies target PCs. Script kiddie is a derogatory term applied to people, most frequently adolescent boys, who do damage to people's computers or to websites, but with no great knowledge of computers. Instead, they merely run scripts written by others to launch attacks without understanding exactly what they are doing. Script kiddies are often lonely, bored, and socially outcast, and they gain a sense of worth by doing damage and bragging about it. Script kiddies do damage in many ways. So we had the back orifice, then we had the script kiddies. So in other words, then we have, I'm not going to read all of this, how personal hacker protection works. So in other words, you want to get personal hacker protection would be good. How personal hacker protection works. So in other words, there's things that you can do to protect. One way hackers gain access to a PC is through Trojans that have been installed on it. Trojans can get onto PCs in many ways, including when someone opens spam and follows a link. Anti-spam software helps protect against hacking, as well as prevent spam recipients from clicking spam links. Trojans or malicious software is also installed when people click on pop-up ads or windows that appear when they surf the internet. A pop-up killer such as is built into Internet Explorer, Firefox, and other browsers helps protect against Trojans being installed by pop-ups. A pop-up killer. So get you some pop-up killers, some firewalls, different hacker prevention software, because hackers can get in sometimes and mess things up. We have how spyware, anti-spyware work. How spyware work, anti-spyware. How spyware and anti-spyware work. So, and then we have how spyware morphs itself to escape detection. How spyware invades your privacy. Then we have how homepage and search page hijackers work. So I'm not going to read all this. I'll probably step back with this. I'll probably read some more of this a little later because I'm already over an hour. How keyloggers work. It's a good book right here. How rootkits work. So in other words, a rootkit allows an intruder to gain access to someone's PC whenever he wants without being detected. It is made up of a series of files and tools. It can be installed on a system in a number of ways, sometimes in the same way that shareware is installed. In the most notorious instance of a rootkit, Sony surreptitiously installed rootkits on tens of thousands of more computers by shipping it as part of software that installed on people's PCs when they put a Sony Music CD into their PC drive. So a rootkit. So a rootkit can replace important components of an operating system with new software. The new software disguises itself as original files, including the same file size, creation date, and so on, making it extremely difficult to detect. So I think I'm going to stop right here. And then it has Following the Spyware Money Trail. This is a good book. I'm going to have to read some more of this on my next video. How anti-spyware works. So, how anti-spyware works. So class, I'm going to close on this note, and I think I'm going to do a second video and read some more of this. I don't want to make this video too long. So I want to say thanks for joining me today. And this is a book that I was reading out of First, Qualitative Research. So thanks for joining me today, class. And I want to say thank you for joining Accounting for Real. And you saw me as I cleaned out, in the beginning, I cleaned out my cabinet. This is my seasoning cabinet, and then I have my regular cabinet here with all my food in it. So I want to say thanks for joining me today. Accounting for Real. So I want to see you back here again, same place, same time. And you all have a good one.